Did she?
I can't get back to my email. I have my email. I can't get past that.
Good evening. Welcome to the Norfolk Board of Selectmen's meeting of Tuesday, April 9th. My name is Jim Lehan. To my right is Mr. Rob Garrity. To my left is Mr. Scott Bugby. To his left, our town administrator, Jack Hathaway. And to his left, Marion Harrington, our executive assistant. Jack, would you read the agenda for this evening, please?
I'd be happy to. Called meeting order at 7 p.m. We have the Economic Development Committee in for an update. At 7:20, we have Chief Bushnell here to call about the new callback program, followed by the town administrator report, including budget and town meeting warrant discussion, action items, including a solid waste materials fee proposal from the DPW director. We have acceptance of minutes and adjournment.
Thanks. We have the Economic Development Committee with us, our two esteemed members of the Economic Development Committee with us tonight, Bob Nicodemus and Walter Byron. Gentlemen, you want to join us? You want to come on up? Nice to see you both.
No, we got these things.
No arguing over the chairs now.
So I sent to Marion today some correspondence. One is an introductory letter that simply says that the Economic Development Committee wants to pursue a request from the Department of Housing and Community Development for information analysis of the Norfolk Town Center as it relates to the Mass Department of Housing's program for smart growth. And that having been said, we did go through databases that we've been compiling most recently through, let's just call it 2010 to now, and are prepared, if the selectmen see it as an acceptable situation, to distribute a cover letter and a series of maps. I don't know whether you have the maps. I have copies. If
I do. Yeah.
And this creates and has been in the file for the Economic Development Committee for at least 2.5 years now, almost 3 years. We established a database, and what we have done on this chart is to add the letter H after each property that could have housing on it. And that's the map that we were proposing to issue with this letter to Mr. Railed at the Housing Smart Growth Department of the of Mass Housing and so forth. We do have an in-depth database that was created and updated through 2012, which we have quantities on each individual lot, but that's not data that we felt necessarily needed to be distributed at this point in time. I just wanted you to know that the data exists, and that's the basis for the quantities and the information shown on the map.
And on the cover letter.
And on the cover letter. I did also, and I don't know whether you got a copy of it or not, pull out the questionnaire that came with Mr. Rail's initial request in the end of February through the end of March. And our cover letter doesn't respond to every item because I'm not sure that we should be responding to every item. He was apparently asking for inventory data of every parcel of land in town, the name of the property owners, and all of that sort of stuff, which we, Economic Development Committees, didn't feel we could do, number one, without the property owner's agreement. And so all we've done is what we have is public information, is just updated it to allow everyone to see that the development in the center of town does have a consideration for housing on a number of lots. And that would basically tell everybody that. So that's where we're at. And again, we didn't want to just, we've been asked to package the information for distribution, but there's never been any discussion with either the planning board as a group or the selectmen as a group, and we didn't feel that we should go forward without at least having everyone aware that the request has been made and we are prepared to react to it if everyone sees that as an acceptable first step.
Question, Bob?
Yeah.
Sorry. So what is this gentleman's goal? Like, if he takes this, what happens?
Well, his goal is to identify for his inventory the housing available in a location that would respond to smart growth inventory. That's his first goal.
Okay.
His second goal is what can the state do to facilitate the development occurring?
Okay, so that would help be benefit. That's where. Okay.
All right.
Beneficial
Well, we
stuff.
felt that the first step was to send the information and identify the locations and let them ask the specific questions after they see first submission, rather than try to respond to all 8 of the inventory questions that the questionnaire had, which, as I said before, are asking for names of properties, names of property owners, an analysis of why development hasn't been happening, et cetera, and we don't feel that this is quite the time for us to be trying to react to that level of information. It may come later that the town sees that as worth responding to, but not in the first delivery.
So you think he'll be satisfied with what you have, or you don't
No,
know?
I know he won't.
Okay.
It's just that
No, I mean, okay.
It's just that I think we need to start with something and let them ask the second and third level round of questions. As I said, I don't think we, Economic Development Committee, or anybody without the Selectmen and Planning Board agreeing, should be distributing names of property owners and development capacities for properties, some of which have never even been submitted to the town for consideration. We, the Economic Development Committee, did this analysis based on zoning and infrastructure capacities in 2008, 2010.
Right.
And we know that they're safe.
Okay.
But we're not, at this point, believing that they're ready for distribution. However, we don't see a problem in identifying what properties could accept mixed-use housing.
I just think there's 7 out of the 8 questions you could answer without piercing the veil that you're worried about. Yeah, and it would be helpful if I was a state official and you sent me that. It's like, okay, okay, I can go on Google Maps too. I see what your zone is. But there are questions in there, the narrative questions, which lead you to conclusions that would be helpful if I was, again, a state official trying to figure out how do I help this little town move. What are the locational factors, like why is this a smart growth zone? Well, it's next to a train station. It's walking. All these things are walking distance. You got the 40B up top already with density above. I just think it would be more helpful to actually, give them some thoughtful responses to these questions.
I was very nervous at that, but okay, that's why we're here.
Yeah. I think we can do that without.
Which ones, Bob, are you uncomfortable with, looking at the 8 questions?
It says specific parcels that have potential for housing, including ownership. Are they publicly owned? Have the developers expressed an interest? When and who? I wouldn't answer that question.
Well, you can answer ownership being either private or public.
Okay?
I mean, I don't think it's their business. I mean, they can look up the deeds if they want to and figure out who owns it. I don't think it's for us. I agree with you on that. But you can just say public or private.
Like
Okay.
question 6, if the EDC is still thinks the bridge is the way to go, and question 6 is the meatball that they're laying over the plate for you on the bridge.
Well, you and I both know that that's not the infrastructure that's going to generate any housing development.
You and I know that, yes. There are other people who still think it does, but
Not anymore.
I wasn't saying anyone on this board.
No, I know. But the one that thought before, not anymore.
Yeah. So, anyhow, as I say, that's why we wanted to have this little bit of a roundtable discussion before we responded.
Actually, it does bring up a really interesting question. I mean, one of the arguments, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Feel free.
One of the things we've been talking about is the planner position.
Mhm.
And in Walpole, their planner, really goes out as a cheerleader and drums up business. And one of the reasons I think we kind of, the center floats along is because there isn't someone out there working with NIOP or working with other organizations to talk about the sites that we have. So, I mean, that's a constraint, the volunteer nature of our government and the relatively small municipal staff, which DHCD could help address through, and we've been talking about these things for years with DHCD about, could you have circuit riders that do certain tasks in small towns, 3 small towns share, this kind of help. So it would help make their argument with the legislature, for instance, saying, look, we want a program that we can have circuit rider, economic development planners. So that.
Scott, any?
My questions are good.
I agree with Rob. I think the more detail you provide in this, the better. I certainly understand the privacy of the parcels being owned, but I think public and private would cover that. That doesn't violate anyone's privacy. That's pretty much public knowledge. I guess I would view this as they're putting a crack in the door.
Yeah.
I
I
why
assumed that
not
this
try and shove our way through a little bit more aggressively if we
My
can?
sense was that Department of Housing and Community Development doesn't have any information about Norfolk's town center.
Probably very little.
Bill and I have had a couple of conversations. So he's seen the video, for instance. We sent him.
Yes, okay,
Yes,
that's
sent him
good.
the video. He's seen that. So he's not dealing from zero, and I think he really sees what we see. That there's potential there that's not getting realized. So I think the more we can help him, and I'd be willing to help, put pen to paper on some of these
Well,
things.
number 4, for example, we could say that there's a proposal for 108 Main Street in front of the planning board.
It's just happening this
Tonight,
Thursday.
This Thursday.
The one next to Old Town Hall?
Anderson.
That's Anderson.
Anderson
yeah.
property.
It's not the other one.
So that's,
Is that on this Thursday?
yeah,
Yes.
preliminary, but
The first,
How many units?
they're showing 13 duplexes, which is 26 units,
Okay.
and utilizing the adjacent property for circulation. Chipman.
Is he agreeable?
He's promoting it.
and it is alleged that there are potentially 44 more units next door.
That are his. And he's had a site plan sitting around for a year or two to indicate that.
That could be an interesting meeting. I might have to tune in.
I'm not sure that second part will come before the,
No, I'm sure it won't.
although the plan that was proposed and put in front of the planning board for 108 shows a common driveway right down the property line.
Well, that was the original proposal a year ago,
Yeah.
Yeah.
if not longer, when
Right.
there was another opportunity that didn't
Right.
get done. But it
Yeah.
obviously solves the problem
Yeah.
of terms of interact when you've got the ponds.
Yeah.
I know it was the preference of the Conservation Commission.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's great.
You end up with 26 units down there. The Old Town Hall site becomes a little more attractive for some sort of sale or lease opportunity.
Well,
Clearly, yeah.
I mean, there's all of that. What we're trying to really deal with here is how much,
Boy, are you coming a long way.
I mean, we've identified the Old Town Hall as having development potential
Yeah.
for both mixed use and housing as well. So that's not changing anything.
Right,
And,
but it becomes more valuable.
Yeah.
With
Yeah,
an
it
attached
does.
site.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I'm all for it. Scott?
No, I have no problem. I think it's great.
Rob?
I want to apologize if I came off gruff. Thank
Not at all, but
Oh,
since
you-
you volunteered to write some of the answers, we're very happy to
You
have
can be
you.
as gruff as you want.
I'll be up all night, don't worry. I'm coffee.
No, go for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so
Just, if you
literally,
would just copy us on whatever you send in, we'd appreciate it.
okay, and if you do have a draft of some thoughts, send them to me, because Bob's going to get on an airplane and disappear for 2 weeks.
Fun. Hope it's sunny.
It will be.
And do come back.
I hope so.
Okay.
We hope so.
Thank you
I don't
very
know about
much.
but we hope so.
All right.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
I don't see the chief, so why don't we do the solid waste check while we're at it?
Remind everybody we're either video or audio tape.
Oh, I did not, thank you. My apologies, I do need to remind, thanks, Jack. I do need to remind everyone that this meeting is being both audio and videotaped. Thank you.
So in your packet. Taking this. That's just for you.
I saw this, yeah.
Bob McGee, the director of the DPW, sent in a request to a couple minor changes on the solid waste materials fees.
Not much.
So they're highlighted on your sheet, and I don't know if people can see them highlighted on the screen there, but the 3-inch screened loom, the 1/2 inch screened loom, and the subsoil fill, as long as the
That'll
bank
teach you.
gravel, going up $2 in each instance. And my understanding is these are all still substantially below the market prices for retailers, so
About a third.
Yes.
about a third. And these are for residents with decals.
How come no change in the non-residents? No, non-decals, excuse me.
There is, it's a higher charge.
Yeah, but there's no, well, he didn't up those, though. Well, they're already $2 higher.
Right.
Right.
So
Well,
he just
some are.
he closed the differential a little bit. Yeah, except for the subsoil fill, he's making, that's a new product. He's making that $2.
Actually, that's a good question. I mean, he's got, I mean, just go down to the processed wood, the compost, the 3/4 inch. Those are all the same as decal. Well, excuse me, not the processed wood chips, but compost. But the 3/4 inch screen loom is the same price.
No, it's $2 less.
$2 less.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I apologize. I
Yeah,
looked
that
at the
throws,
wrong-
it throws everything
Commercial
off.
versus
You're right. Nope.
residential.
Sorry. I need to read better.
There's a couple,
I was down at commercial.
the bank gravel is $6 a yard. I'm not really sure technically what bank gravel. Assume that's just a rougher
Filler.
gravel, yeah.
Got rocks. and
That's
good
$6
stuff.
no matter who you are.
Bob, can I ask you guys to?
Yep, sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll,
Any questions, guys? Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the new fees for solid waste for fiscal 2014.
I second that. I would note that there's no change in bag stickers or vehicle decals.
The only question I have, and I am a purchaser, so I say this with some hesitancy. That's awful cheap for some of that stuff, especially screened loom.
Yeah.
That's $8 a cubic yard.
Well, you want the 1/2 inch if you're doing lawn,
Okay, $10.
but I mean it's 30 some odd bucks commercially.
Does that include delivery? Because there is an extra delivery cost.
Yeah, that's not much, and it may or may not. Actually, it's probably more than that.
Delivery's $50. You go up to the top. So they don't put it into the,
Do they ever run out, Jack? I mean, does he ever, because the price is so cheap, does he ever sell out of this stuff?
he hasn't the last few years. I mean, we had a lot of material come over from the King Phil, the school project.
Kennedy, right.
Kennedy Freeman Kennedy project.
I'm okay. I just
Something to think about. If you ever
it's an
start to
opportunity for
supply and
revenue,
demand, right,
and it's
yeah.
a very, very reasonable price.
So how much revenue does this roughly bring? Do we know? I mean, and
401,672 for this year.
Thank you, sir.
I'm sorry?
Well, last year was 392. That was the budgeted number, 392,000. And this year he's 401,000. Now that includes decals and bags.
Oh, okay. I wanted to see. I know what you mean, but no, I was just curious. That's good.
Yeah.
Good amount of revenue, as Jim said.
Well, the
it's-
overall,
it's-
but I mean, that's just it's. I mean, if we were half price of commercial.
No, that's why wouldn't you go there? It's still half price.
All right. Well, motion then. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I would ask him.
I'll
Jack-
share your comments and,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
next year to take a look at what it is commercially and
Let's get closer.
well, we want it to be a deal, but
Yeah.
not necessarily a steal.
you know, while you're in this mood, we could talk about the parking fees down at the Old Town Hall.
I think they're just fine.
What are those, 50 or 75?
$75. You park in the MBTA lot, you gotta pay
$4 a day.
$5,000 or something.
A multi-level. So for $500, you don't go into the thing.
The thing?
Lottery.
Oh,
So like club seats.
nice.
I see.
Permanent licenses too. We go to the spring for, you might even farther than that, so if you're going to be here for 10 years.
What happens if you have twice as many requests for club seats than you have? You're in a lottery.
Build more parking lots.
Yeah, exactly, at $500?
You're in an exclusive lottery.
It'll stack.
You just have people going to work
Okay.
all day.
Chief, how are you? Very well, sir. Right on time. Come join us.
Do a valet service with Marion.
This will be interesting.
Well, you brought the good officers with you.
Oh, boy.
Brought the smart guys.
All right, gentlemen.
Yeah, but Dougie's here.
Good.
Well,
Bada boom.
Chief, you have never come without handouts.
Start.
Oh, this is what you sent us.
Oh, I just wanted to make sure you had it.
Oh, okay.
I do not.
You have it.
Also, always leave them laughing, too, is my motto.
You cold bring 3? That was nice of you. Here, you can have it.
I have two.
Actually, I have one. You want one? I have it.
Jack, you can have mine.
No, it's okay, cool.
This is going to go poorly in my contract or my evaluation, correct?
Yeah, we'll give Marion this one then.
We'll give it to Marion at the end.
Okay, you can have mine. I have one though. You must have sent it to us ahead of time. You probably sent it to us.
Thought I had it with me.
I don't know. I've seen this
Well,
before.
I didn't bring it with me, so.
I don't know, but Cole's gonna wrap this up soon. He's got a big basketball game to go watch.
Tonight, that's it.
Oh, that's right.
I'll have you know that tonight, the Big East, the most powerful and probably the most prestigious basketball conference
So,
that was ever.
right into this project, Cole.
Boy, those Yankees are looking really interesting, huh?
I want you to know that it'll be our honor to be in last place, and you guys can't get any closer to us than
And
that.
we want you to know that we're going to be thrilled to have you accept that honor.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It seems like just the other day,
It does.
that Jim and Jack were in a meeting at the station and putting together the background for starting ALS in Norfolk, and the excitement and the enthusiasm of that afternoon would then Lieutenant Petruchik certainly laid the groundwork for where we are going as a department and moving ahead with advanced life support in Norfolk. And the first day the program was set up, we had that save at the Norfolk Food Center, an unresponsive person inside. We had rushed back from Norwood with all our supplies from the pharmacy and basically treated the patient out of a shopping bag in the back of the ambulance. But that was the intro to how we got off the ground.
I remember that.
As I said, that was probably the most important thing that we did up to that point, until the Board of Selectmen was gracious enough to provide us the seed money to do the project, to reach the minimum staffing for Norfolk. We've talked about it for a long time, of ensuring that we have 3 people in the building, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The people that we utilize for transporting patients left us a void with 1 person in the building. And we can tell you that unequivocally, the 69 instances during the pilot project, only once did we fail to bring people back during that period of time. Firefighter paramedic Tommy Nicholas is here tonight. He certainly is one of the leaders in the callbacks. Tommy lives in one of the non-contiguous communities and certainly benefits by the 15-minute grace period that we have bringing people in. Lieutenant paramedic Doug Johnston is also in the running, as very active. And I think that one of the things that we want to debunk for the public is it's so easy to look at this project and talk about it from the standpoint of what overtime means to the rank and file, whether it's the call firefighters or the union firefighters. But again, the amount of money that's involved, and fast forward to the budget request that was put forward for the next fiscal year of $70,000, is probably, when you look in totality of what additional staffing would be, it's probably right in the area of about 15 to 20%. So it provides us the best possible means for Norfolk to ensure that we have that level of protection during that period of time when the ambulance is transporting. Certainly, the pediatric emergency that we handled during that period of time, the family was very glad that we were there in under 4 minutes. The unresponsive individual we had, obviously that plays into it. About 20% of the time that we covered the station, additional calls did come in. March was an unusually busy time for us, and I think it was well that factored in there. One of the things that again, and talked about this with the advisory board the other night, is the collaborative agreement. Certainly, that was forged ahead by, and I say this in all sincerity. I mean, Jim and I are very good friends, but he forged based upon the board's suggestion with the collective bargaining group that we could not afford doing this on a 3-hour callback, and we need to do it on a 2-hour callback. And the union embraced that. I think from the board's perspective, your concerns were echoed by the concerns of the group from the collective bargaining side of the table, that this was a project that they were franchised with initially from the standpoint that it's going to be better protection for them, it's better protection for the community. I think based upon that, it talks about why we've been so successful. I think as we move forward, we have to be careful that that we are dealing with a smaller department now. We're down to 18 people, so we have to worry about perhaps some possible burnout as we move ahead. Yep. There's some trepidation moving ahead of what the good weather is going to be, particularly for all our Red Sox fans as they attend games at Fenway Park as the Red Sox move on for another Eastern Division crown.
Well,
Again, Cole?
You are laying this one on tonight, aren't you?
Say, how much more does it need? It's getting deep.
Jeez.
So
Totally with it.
to tie it up at this point,
Please do, please.
thank you, Rob. Just want to thank you on behalf of the staff. Come on,
I
Jack.
just want to thank you and
Give
have a
me
good night.
break.
Just drop the mic and walk at this point.
You guys did good, and thank you.
Cole, I got a couple of questions for you. Shoot. In the original budget submission, which is a 9.4% increase, of the $110,000 difference in the salary line, how much of that is the new callback? Was it about $65,000?
It was seven. The line item is 70 on
It's
that.
70.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
It's you don't have the line item breakdown.
And-
You said
Detail
the
from-
aggregate.
And your analysis shows, and I know 2 months is not a,
Yep.
a
Yeah, we-
major clip, but your analysis shows you're running at about 45.
Yep, we ran low on that, and one of the reasons that we did is there were a number of instances that took place with simultaneous calls. So that 2-hour went out, and we moved it from the station coverage section directly into the fire recall side of the budget.
Okay.
And that's
But that
and
will
that's-
happen occasionally
and
anyway.
that's- And I think that's going to happen probably more and more. We were amazed at how many times it happened during the course of those 2 months.
I mean, the reason I'm asking is, I mean, I fully support the concept, as you know, but we have a $200 and some odd thousand gap.
Well
in the
aware of
budget,
that. Well aware.
and we're trying to find every dime we
Sure.
can get. And if we've budgeted it at 70, and we think we can run it at 50, that's $20,000 we need.
Might be close, but if that's what the board looks at, that's, as we said, we've always been the people that adapt and overcome to the best of our
But-
ability.
Plus, we'll have 3 months in by
Right.
fall town meeting.
But
We can
my
adjust.
question, this is a loaded one, because I don't know that you can answer it.
I'll do my best.
Because I don't know if there is an answer. It's one thing just to say we're going to try and run it at 50. And your business, like the police, it's, who knows? Every day's a new day. I guess my question is, I mean, you've had a lot of experience at this. You've got more than 3 months worth of experience. You've got darn near a lifetime of experience at this, and I value that greatly. Is that a number that under normal, and I understand deviations happen, but under normal conditions, can we legitimately do this at 50 grand, or are we just playing a game of hiding 20 grand?
I'd feel comfortable at 60. I would think that that would take into account any anomalies that we might see. And I think that when we first talked about this initially, I mean, one of the things that we looked at was to maintain that as a separate payment as we move forward into the new fiscal year, so we could track that individually, separate from the fire call. It's a little bit more difficult for us from a bookkeeping standpoint, but I think it's important that we really watch that, because I think everybody shares the same goal, that the understanding how important it is for us, and certainly when the constraints of what we have to deal with in terms of the fiscal reality of the community, certainly not averse to doing that in that manner to ensure that we've got the utmost scrutiny that takes place there.
I mean, we didn't develop this capability to lose this capability. We developed this capability to maintain this capability. So, and it saves lives. So I mean, there's no value you can put on that. But we still got to watch this
Exactly.
budget. I mean, while things may be a tad better, they're still, and we're going to spend a lot of time here shortly talking about King Philip, where we have some significant financial issues.
Well, I mean, the posture of the fire department has always been, we do whatever it takes to help the community, whether it's fiscally or
Yeah,
not.
but you're very gracious to say that, but it has to be real. Now, what I mean by that is, I mean, you're always willing to give at the table. And your guys are too. You've been great at that. I don't want you to give what you can't give.
I'm comfortable at 60. I think at 60 that we're right there. I mean, if you and we've talked about this before, we're basing it on average of 525 transports during the course of the year. We don't see anything demographically different in terms of the community, of where we are. The medical center is still a discussion on the horizon. Further development, the 1A corridor is still at the horizon. The further development at
You can't count that for fiscal 13.
No, if you look at the development at the Village at River's Edge, I think we maintain a constant out there.
Yeah.
We may see some further need for our resources based upon the demographic shift as aging takes place, but it's an interesting way of running the airline here, simply from the standpoint, as we talked about before, that we don't have clearly a defined commercial center, we don't have a limited access highway, we don't have a healthcare facility, so generally speaking, our call volume will remain basically flat with very small incremental increases or decreases going through time. So I think there's a certain level of comfort and consistency that takes place there.
Is there anything else on the horizon for fiscal 13? Not talking about the unanticipated, but I mean, is there anything in terms of equipment, backup ambulance? I mean, are we going to be, barring the engine falling out on a bad day, are we going to be pretty clean in terms of any expenses like that are not already in here?
Well, you've mimicked Arlie from the other night, the advisory board. He sat just down the table a little ways.
I can move over there if you want me to.
And my response to his question is I have a tremendous amount of confidence. We've been very fortunate. I mean, the community's been overused the word gracious, but we have 2 new engines. We basically have 2 new ambulances. We have the new shift vehicle that's utilized a great deal. Those are maintained at such a high level with DPW. I mean, we have the ability, sometimes to Jack's chagrin, of notifying and working with DPW 24/7. If we have a problem, we can get things repaired very quickly. The level of attention that we get and the expertise that we get from our DPW, we're basically paying for parts. I mean, there isn't a lot of repair work that's off-sited from us. I mean,
Equipment, I know you've gotten a little bit,
We're-
we got some stuff back for you, but I mean, your breathing apparatus, things of all that nature, nothing on the horizon for 2000.
Well,
for fiscal
again,
13.
all part of our annual maintenance, which I mean, we've been into this now for, the 9 years I've been here, 8 years that we resurrected it. I mean, we've curbed a lot of problems, particularly with breathing apparatus, which can be expensive. We've now entered into a service agreement for our combustible gas detectors, which is saving us a tremendous amount of money. the hose that we have. I think when Arlie asked this question the other night, I said, looking long range, we are going to need some hose replacement. Looking long range, we're coming up on the 15-year. We have to replace the breathing apparatus bottles. We may adapt and go to a smaller bottle just because the department is somewhat gray in the tooth at this point. So we want to try to reduce the weight and stress on people like myself.
You put Mr. Hathaway and I through that training, and we handled those big tubes just fine. Come on.
That's because you
It was
guys
a long
are...
time ago, Jim.
You could have gone without saying that, Jack.
Hey,
Jack's the first time you've come to my aid in a long time. So, I mean, knock on wood, but there's not a lot there.
Okay.
We have in the budget, we started a program now. We're going to move forward and replace the protective clothing, 3 sets every year, and that's going to get us into a great cycle to ensure that particularly the career staff has the availability of 2 sets of gear there, takes care of the people going to the academy. We'll have 1 person attending the academy, but that's factored in as far as covering those shifts. And plus, the academy has been reduced from a 12-week cycle to a 9-week cycle this year as well. One of the changes that the Fire Chiefs Association has worked diligently with the marshal on to try to reduce. So, I think we approach this budget as we've approached all our budgets with a great deal of confidence. The radios were replaced last year. I mean, that was probably the one curveball that we have in our operations was our communication system, and that's been resolved.
that's the central radios, not the handhelds, right? That's
In the handhelds, we took care of a lot of those with the last Fire Act grant. Everyone has a new portable radio. Everyone has a new pager, complete on the staff. So that's a good 5 years down the road, perhaps 6, before we'll need to, review some of those items.
the one vehicle that we need to keep on the radar is the chief's vehicle. I mean, it is a first response vehicle, and it is 7 years old now. So
Yeah,
it's,
next year we'll definitely have the period
Well,
of time.
actually, all we need to do is get you a GPS. You can save a whole lot of mileage on that vehicle, having ridden with you.
I don't know how to quite take that.
It's a unsafe work environment or something.
No, we came back from Boston one day in a meeting, and I think we went through Connecticut and Rhode Island before we got to Norfolk.
He's paid by the hour,
That was overtime.
You know help.
You know nothing, right?
Notice he
You've
doesn't.
ridden with him.
Why they don't let him drive the big truck?
I mean,
I have never arrived at an emergency before it occurred. Let the records show that.
That's not what Pete said.
Wait, they are really rough on you,
Pretty much.
it's
but
out
that's
of
okay.
love and affection.
So, I mean, other than that, I think we're in good shape. The ladder truck, I mean, that's one of the things, other question Arlie asked the other night. We've pecked away, using Paul Vito's terminology, at the ladder truck over the last 4 years. We are going to do the undercarriage where it's going to be stripped down, repainted, primed and repainted, which is something that's been on the inspection report for the last few years. It's not a detrimental, but it's certainly something we need to pay attention to. And then after that, the cab needs to be repainted. We've got some corrosion there. All of the testing that's been performed by the testing agency indicates that the aerial device itself is not out of factory specification 1 iota. So as much as we use it in a small community, it's well maintained, and there's a lot of sweat equity that goes on the part of the troops, as well as some of the things that we have to do during the course of the year to maintain the truck.
So you're telling us we could take $10K out of that budget?
Thanks for coming, Cole.
If that's what the board would like to do,
Well, you're saying you think you could
60
make it
as
work.
60, as I said. That's what we'll make it work with.
Todd?
So that's the 7 quote you put in there was based on, I guess I'm still confused on what, if you're running at a $45,000 rate, 70 you originally had, or even
Well,
going
Jim-
to 60.
Jim-
Well, that's
Yeah,
2 months.
yeah,
That's
Jim-
just 2
Jim
months.
just extrapolated the numbers here, which
Right,
which
could
I
change, right,
didn't
you
do
get-
because I knew
right.
he would do when I got here.
But you don't want to extrapolate. I mean, that's not fair. So you're just,
Yeah, I mean, that's some of the things that we'll see. And we have the ability, we have the recall section of our budget, and one of the things that continues to happen is we triage a tremendous amount of our call volume. I mean, there's a lieutenant who's sitting here tonight that before we rode out today on the 2 calls that we've handled during his shift, each one of them, the dispatcher contacted him first and asked what he wanted to do. Do you want to handle his shift, or do you want to recall people? And they're very cognizant of the fact that we have 3 people here. That's the idea. We foster 3 people. Is this an incident 3 people can handle? Both times he answered yes. I'm their backup, and off we go. And the more that's done by the 4 shift officers and even the out-of-grade people, that lessens the impact on that aspect of the budget, because one of the things that we do have problems with every year is the sick variable or the time off variable that's non-contractual, and we pull that money directly out of the fire call section of the budget to make it happen. I mean, we talk a lot about doing things with magic, but that's the magic of how we operate is falling back on that category of the budget. The other thing that comes hand in hand with that when we get to the non-contractual time off is that once again the union comes to the table and allows us to split that period of time. Half of it goes to a member of the collective bargaining agreement. The other half goes to call firefighters on first basis, so that we're able to cut down some of the costs there as well.
Rob, any other thoughts?
Well, I'll hear you 10 and raise you 15. But
Actually,
just with the thought that we can come back in the fall after we have a summertime worth of experience. But if we need to get to a balanced budget by June.
For us, the summer, everyone
May.
leaves Norfolk during the summer, and
Call volume would be low.
our call volume historically, once we hit June, July, and August, our calls really decrease. I think that our EMS, our medical calls are more mutual aid, or the percentage of mutual aid calls increases during that period of time. The demand for our services internally are really reduced in that regard.
okay. Well, I mean, should we say 10? And unless you want to, how confident are you on that basketball game tonight?
That's a bet.
Well, there's always something to be said for a Cinderella team.
I mean, we could go double or nothing on the 10,000 cut.
I don't gamble.
We wouldn't do that anyway. I just wanted to know how confident you were.
He's confident.
Okay, any other questions, guys?
I'm good.
The advisory board was a lot easier tonight, by the way.
Well, we've gone through a lot more of this than the advisory board has.
It's good to see the participation. The guys coming back in. That's
Yeah,
good
it
to
is.
see.
Yeah.
Hey,
We were worried about that when we.
Well,
did
so were
this.
we. I mean, this is your program. I mean, this is the one that you ponied up on, and this is the one that has your name attached to it. I mean, we just put it together.
I was heartened by you saying that March was a particularly busy month, and that was the $4,700 month.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's why I'm lowballing
Yep.
it, because I am hoping we can get lucky one of
Well,
these
and I
days,
think, but moving forward to the next fiscal year, we track that as a separate line item, keep a handle on it, report back to Jack, we'll report back to you, and I speak with, Rob as our liaison, and we'll have a very good handle on it moving forward,
And again, I want to publicly thank the union for negotiating down your callback hours to make this work. So thank you again.
It's a
That's the
win-win
only
for
way it did
everybody.
work.
Yeah.
Yep. If we hadn't gotten that concession, it would have been a tough haul for
It
us.
probably wouldn't have gone. I mean, you and I talked on it several
Couldn't
times.
make it work.
and The math just didn't.
Math didn't work.
Didn't play.
Yeah. So thanks again.
Okie dokie.
Good luck tonight.
Thank you very much. Yukon Huskies,
Go
go fight,
Huskies.
win.
Cole, I think you got it in the bag. It's a wrap. I already colored them green.
He's not somebody do a girls' pool. I hope not.
What's up?
Hope you're gonna do a ladies' pool.
Of course we did a ladies'
Might
pool
be
as
able to
well.
split the
I should
difference
say.
on that.
I apologize. Soon.
Anyway,
Yeah, we're done. Motion to adjourn.
okay. Well, what we're really here to talk about tonight is budgets.
So,
You want to start with, go right to King Philip? What do you want to do?
how about give me 30 seconds?
Okay. A little more than that, maybe?
So I've given you a new book, and in there on the 5th or 6th tab, there's a tab that says Summary Expense Budget, and in there is the packet that you're very familiar with. So, and this, this is obviously still a fluid document. The number that is in there doesn't really represent where I was at the beginning of the day. At the beginning of the day, I'm at really 280, short 286,583. So
286,583.
583.
Using the,
But that's with taking $10,000 out from the fire department that I just
you've already taken the 10 out.
just subtracted. Yeah.
Very quick. 286.
You're not leaving any fun for us.
Well, there is fun. So, I guess really, that was my 30 seconds. Jim, I think Jim and I met last week with King Philip, the superintendent, and one of the school committee members. And then I met yesterday with superintendent, chairman of the school committee, another school committee member, and the two other town administrators. And we're all, I'll just tell you the town administrator thing, and then maybe you can fill in the blanks. They asked the three towns where we are, and this is a process that we go through every year. And you know, my comment to them was that if I plug in a 6% increase to King Philip, which cost us an additional $394,000, which is almost half of our new revenue, a little less than half, but close. I can make the budget work with that number, with that deficit that you just heard, you know, which is still in the upper 200s, which I'm still fairly confident that we can make that disappear through some budget wizardry. It's not, you know, and when I say that, I'm all kidding aside, you know, we're stretching the amount of, you know, each year, the past 5 years in particular, each year when that budget wizardry is really stretching our estimates on revenues, and it's getting tighter and tighter, and we're, you know, it is, you know, it's not the best budget practice in the world, but it's the reality of the times. So that's where our situation is. If, you know, my feeling was without reaching into our reserves and doing other things, we could probably attain a 6% increase. Rentham is not at that level, because for them to reach our 6%, they'd have to go at 7.6%, an increase in their assessment, and they are probably more in the 4%, 3% range where they can afford. Plainville's a little behind us, as they always are in their budget cycle, but when he's adding up his numbers right now, he's got a $68,000 deficit, assuming King Philip at a level-funded operating budget, so really no change in their assessment. Well, no, sorry, about $166,000 change in their assessment. But he's also assuming at that, when he makes that calculation, that is, he doesn't have his fire and his police budget, so they're level funded. So you know that's probably unlikely going to remain that way. So the story is Plainville's probably the worst off, at least today. Rentham is somewhere in the middle, and then we're at the high mark. Jim, I don't know if you want to talk about the King Philip point of view.
I do. The meeting that we had, Jack and I had with the superintendent and the finance director was, I mean, it was a good meeting. It was an open, honest discussion, but I came away very, very troubled. King Philip is in big trouble. I think you've all had a chance to look at these, but they are in significant financial difficulty. Quite honestly, some of it to their own doing. But it doesn't matter at this point in time how they got there. They can't continue to go in the direction they're going. They've got to make some dramatic changes. But that said, the reason they need a 14% increase to level service their budget is because they put $750,000 of A&D with excess and deficiency, which is basically free cash for us, into their operating budget and used it in reoccurring expenses. So they created them a $750,000 hole for themselves before the new year even began. If you took that $750,000 hole out, they'd be looking for a 4% increase as opposed to an 8% increase, and it would be a much more manageable number. But we are where we are. I asked Jack to put this slide together so folks at home could see it as well. But at our 6%, which is $394,370 additional funding by the town, that represents a significant deficit for them off of their level services budget. Big chunk of money. And 800 and some odd thousand, if I believe. The cuts that they're going to have to make to make that work are just devastating.
Yeah, about a
1.6 million.
Excuse me,
1.7,
1.7, almost 1.7.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was thinking the 10%,
Yeah.
which is 800,000. And they went through those cuts. And those cuts, I know a lot of folks have heard this, so I'm not telling anything out of house, but those cuts include all extracurricular activities. That's band, that's sports. You went to your daughter's tennis match today.
Might not be my last year.
Might be your last one. I mean, they're just devastating cuts, and to me, would just devastate the schools. So, been trying to think through how, and of course, we're one of three. We need a partner in this. When we talked with them, and you'll notice that there's a green line through that 10% number. While they'd like us to be up at the 14% level, they acknowledged that they think they could survive, if that's the right word, if we were able to get to the 10%. And when we went through the cuts with them, they're still going to have to make some cuts. No two ways about it. But it wouldn't be as devastating as if we're at the 6%. Now, the problem is, our 10% is 12.9 for Plainville and 12.1 for Rentham. So whether we can get a dance partner in this is a good question. But, I spent 6 years on the KP school committee and 9 years on this board. This is the worst budget I've ever seen for KP. So that's 15 years worth of looking at these budgets. I have never seen one this bad. I've never seen them in this much trouble before. I think they can still play with some numbers. They've got to fine-tune some of the anticipated costs they've got in there, especially around benefits and special ed, insurance programs specifically. But what I'd like to propose to you guys to consider, we're first out of the gate on this, and we're a K through 12 system, and I just don't want to see these cuts happen in King Philip. Students will leave in droves, and rightfully so. They're doing what they need to do if they have to make the cuts, because, as the superintendent said, her priority is to keep teachers in front of students. And you can't argue with the logic of that. But high school is a collective experience, and you look at the band program, which you've been involved in. One of my daughters was involved in it. I think you have a daughter involved in it. The athletics, all part of the high school experience. And to lose that would be devastating to the system, just devastating. So Jack and I kind of played with this today and trying to think through how we might be able to help. If we could push the envelope and get to 10%, the number you see up there in the green, and the way, and I'd hoped to have a chat with the Norfolk superintendent today, but she was homesick. they're totally unaware of this conversation because I just didn't get a chance to talk to her. But I would even be willing to tap into the reserve, some of the reserves that we put away. We've got the Norfolk schools at 4.3. We, I think, originally anticipated them to be at 3. I support the 4.3. I mean, they're putting back some things they desperately need, but the condition in KP, they're on life support.
It's the difference between burning the furniture to heat the place and putting back some things you would like.
Yeah, I mean, the 4.3, the additional 1.3 is, as you very correctly said, it's putting back services that they've lost.
Which are good services.
Absolutely. I would fully support that budget, but if we could work together to come up with that additional $250,000 between our stabilization fund and hopefully maybe the schools giving back a little bit, to get us to that 10%, we're first out of the gate. That might give King Philip enough leverage to put some pressure on one of the other two towns to come along with us. And I'd even be willing to go politic to help do that, because I've never seen it this bad.
So,
Scott?
no, everything you said is true, but what happens like in the next year? We jumping ahead. I don't want to jump ahead because we're funding.
No, it's a fair question because we
put my finger in a dike.
We talked about that as well. I mean, it does too.
Dip it every year.
If nothing changed, then we would have hurt ourselves as well as King Philip, because we would have, any percentage over what we give them now is a higher number next year if we increase that number. So, we're creating a bigger deficit for ourselves next year in terms of what they're going to want by doing this.
And plus drawing from our reserves.
And we're drawing some money from our reserves, even though we just made a $500,000 deposit. I think this board, if we're going to push the envelope like this, should just sit down with King Philip.
Yep.
And
Concessions.
they have to. They have to fix some of the issues that, quite frankly, have been lingering there for a long time.
I think it's a great opportunity to get some. I notice, they have issues with their health insurance. Huge issues. That why aren't the 3 towns group buying? Why they have a separate payroll system? Why not start a lot more of these back office things to try and get some more integration and savings?
I'm sure it's never as simple as it always appears.
Of course it's not.
I mean, it never is. But I think we heard that one of the providers said that if they had bid with them, it would have had huge savings. They didn't even bid. Now, I know they've had a trust and a little bit of different setup, but they have other issues too. They've got 4% step increases in their contract. That's unheard of, quite frankly. And at some point they're just going to have to firm up. And I mean, you cannot. That's not COLAs. That's steps.
Yep.
That's for showing up another year. And they've just got to get these costs under control. So I guess the only thing I can say, Scott, is I mean, I'd love to get my hands on their budget, to be honest with you.
So let Jim have it. We might get money back when he's done.
Well, we wouldn't get any back, but I mean, I would love to. But I'm not on the school committee. But I would say that we have a chit in the game if we push the envelope like this and go into our reserves to try and get a partner in this to salvage this school system.
Yeah.
So,
And for people who don't have kids at King Philip, I think it's important to realize that a lot of the extras that a high school provides, like football and lacrosse and the band and drama club, those things are all paid for by the school, but also by the parents.
Right.
And the parents are putting up, I think the agreement was 30% of the cost of these activities at least. So if you're a band parent, you're into the program for $1,500, $2,000 a year, depending on how many different things your kid does.
I mean, the extracurricular activities all have user fees, but the bullet on the KP side is $750,000.
Yeah.
So it's a major bullet. So we're visiting with the advisory board tomorrow night. I think I'd like to see us, if we can get there, talk through a strategy on how we want to approach this so that we can present this to the advisory board tomorrow night. And it's a little preemptive on me to bring in the Norfolk schools because I've had no chance to talk with anyone there. So my apologies to the school committee and the superintendent. I tried, but she was ill today. And we're not hinging it on that. I mean, that's not a fair expectation. I don't mean to put them on the spot. That's not my point. But we are a K through 12, and we have what, in my view, for the first time I can remember. I mean, they've always had issues, but I've never seen anything like this.
No, the difference is,
Throw the cuts up there, Jack, if you can. Have you got those up there?
the Dr. Robat, we used to hear issues like this.
And they weren't real.
They weren't
With all due
exactly
respect.
real.
These are real. These are the cuts in priority that they have listed from the level services budget. They're anticipating that they're going to get 300,000 of healthcare savings. We kind of forced that one on them to some degree. You can see they've got a few others, custodians, payroll. Then you get into interscholastic athletics, eliminate curriculum team leaders, and all curricular activities. That's a $750,000 bullet, or actually a little bit more. And if you work the numbers, that's equivalent to about 19 teachers. Because you've got to put unemployment in and other things. It's not a pure dollar for dollar savings. And it's always the people on the low end of the totem pole that go in. So that's why you see it so high on the list. I mean, they really don't have anywhere else to go. And I think that's, if we're at 5%, was that, Jack? Do I remember? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's if they were anticipating us at 5% in the original sheets that they did. We're at 6, so, you can, the difference to that
a little
between
better.
5 and 6, well, it's not a lot.
No.
It's,
100,000.
yeah, about 200,000. So you can put 200,000 off of that number. So you can get rid of O, P, and Q. I mean, I've been playing with this in my mind since we met with the superintendent a week ago. It's just, so I guess what I would propose, and then you guys come up with Plan B if you want, is that we approach the schools, work with the schools to see if we can get a little bit back on their budget, combine it with a withdrawal from our savings account, and push the envelope to get King Philip to a 10% contribution. I think we've got to go forward with this budget soon. I'm hesitant to delay it because if we vote it, it would allow some time for the superintendent and the school committee members to work with the other towns to see if they can get a dance partner. If we delay it, it makes it that much more difficult
Yeah.
because there's still uncertainty to the process. So I would favor going forward with it if we're going to do this. I know we still have unanswered questions on state aid and all of that, but that's why we have fall town meetings, to kind of clean up that mess. So that's my proposal, so I'll turn it over to you guys. Scott? I don't want you to have seen your last tennis match.
I know. Yeah, it's been a good season too. No, that worries me. I'm just, from my own selfish point, she's a junior, so Rob has the largest stake in the game, and so do the rest of the people in town. I mean, I have no problem doing that. It just goes back to my other thing, like how do we control it? How do we fix it long term, or even shorter than long term, next year and the year beyond? Because as Jack said too, we take money out of our savings account, which is what a savings account's for. But we set ourselves, if they don't, how do we really put that chip on the table and make sure the chip works for us?
It has to, because we're putting another $300,000 in, just from us, and if somebody equals it, they're getting another about 800,000, isn't it, Jack? Close to $800,000-900,000 between the three towns. Cuts that deficit in half, pretty much. There has to be a trade, because that's no different than them putting another 750 grand of A&D funds into the
Right.
budget and having it part of the reoccurring expenses.
Yeah, you said 800, about 800,000 between
Yeah.
the 6% and the 10%.
Yeah. So we've got to sit down with them and force some changes somehow. I mean, when I say force, we don't have any authority.
Right, that's what worries. Yeah, I know what you mean. No, but it's a collaborative, hopefully.
But in the same vein, if we're going to take that step, and we should have this conversation before town meeting, if we're going to take this step,
Significant.
we've got it is significant. And we may not make any friends in Rentham and Plainville.
Big time concessions out of them.
Jack had a conversation with the Plainville town administrator and bounced this idea off of him, and
Who's cursing at me?
the profanities were excessive over the phone.
And that's rough, because Plainville's usually a little more sympathetic to KP than Rentham's been of late.
Yeah, and you're right. And there's definitely differences between what Joe is doing, who's constructing the budget, versus what his finance committee might think. They don't always, their finance committee, I agree with you, has always been very sympathetic to KP. I do, Scott brought up the point, and I know Jim already reiterated a little bit. I too concerned, and I guess I'll take the chance of planting the seed for next year. I mean, if we're going to take $200,000 of free cash, which we already committed to, and then some number out of stabilization, if it's $150,000 or $200,000, that's $400,000 of one-time money that we're going to take out. It's going to be very difficult for us to make that up next year without some new source of revenue, which, if you go back to the days when we talked about what Proposition 2.5 allows us to do, and I realize times have changed since those discussions back 8 years ago. But there was a need for an insurgence, I'll use the word override, on a periodic basis to have those revenues keep pace with the expenses. And to cut to the chase, if we're going to use that much one-time revenue this year, we're going to need to have an override next year, or make really drastic cuts everywhere next year.
Or KP has got to clean it up.
That's harder to control on our part, I think. That's my
No, but
fear, because
but
we have the least control of that.
but you can have an understanding, because it's going to be the same song that comes out of Plainville and Rentham, Jack. I mean,
Yep.
if one of them chooses to dance with us here,
Yep.
maybe both of them, recognize the devastation that's before them, and they say, we just got to do this. That would be the best scenario, that we all don't get mad at each other in the process. But I think they'd all say the same thing. Look, we're throwing $800 and some odd thousand to allow you to stay whole to some degree this year, but you've got to fix your house,
Yeah.
because we're not going to do this again.
Well, the good news is they don't have the excess and deficiency to use
Right.
in their budget this year, so we won't have that initial hole on their side. We'll have
But we're giving them
we'll
the
have the
hole.
hole on our
We're
side.
giving them the whole.
Mhm.
And I think all three towns almost, really, but we can't, we can have a one-town conversation now, but, if another town comes along, we all got to sit down and have a conversation with them and help any way we can. I've poured through their budget over the last week, and there are things they can do.
Jack, does your new growth number count paddocks and corrals as coming online? A little bit of it?
A little bit of it, probably. I mean, it certainly is, based on the phone call I got tonight, saying somebody was concerned about the noise at 7:30 last night, that they were still hammering away, so we'll rectify that, but obviously the construction's going well up there, so.
And there are a couple of things in the pipeline, which would be extraordinarily helpful.
I agree. I'm
Right.
not,
And maybe we,
I share your optimism in terms of our financial outlook, but that doesn't solve the
No.
problem at KP.
I think part of the thing that would make me feel better about dipping into stabilization was if we don't have partners, and Rentham and Plainville come along to a lesser extent, so we have freed up budget money, that goes back.
Right.
You know.
Well, I would make it a twofold commitment. That let's say that no one dances with us, and we have the fall town meeting. That's just my opinion. I would give back to the schools whatever they contributed, and give back to stabilization whatever we contributed. You would keep it? Oh, but you had that glimmer.
and fire and police and HR and planning and.
Well, yeah, but,
I don't want to dip into our state, well, I don't want to dip into the state.
To me, that's just fair. I mean, if
Yeah.
they
prorated for the,
help
you know,
us out.
the
Well,
months that went
whatever. I
by.
mean,
Didn't need it.
no. Well,
I'm kidding.
I mean, the budget's all about cash flow. So if no one comes along, we can fix this easily in the fall. They can proceed as though they had 4.3%. We give that allocation back over in November or whenever we have the meeting, and everything is business as usual. And we put the 100 and some odd thousand that we would have to take out of stabilization back into stabilization.
Jack, is that what the 150 is on your revenue budget?
That's the stabilization, yeah.
And you're still 200 short? 33,
Yep.
271. 33,271.
I am 283,
Actually,
I'm about
379.
303 short.
And I think he's got, where's that sheet? Got too many pieces of paper here.
And you already took the fire money out.
Well, the sheet that you have, actually, I took $30,000 out someplace, and I need to stick 20,000 back in.
And you did, but you didn't adjust the elementary school line item.
I did not,
No, we did not. Right.
because I've
That could be,
been shot at before, I didn't want to get shot at again.
And
So
snow
that
and
would
ice
be
still
90
has that bump in it.
$95,000,
yes, no one still has that bump.
so I'm down to about 303, so, you know, the other increases, the additional hours in HR could take that out, planning, planner could take that out. And that's 30,000, that's another 45,000.
You got the planner at half year, right?
Yep,
You could lose that.
so that's 45,000 between those two. You know,
On the planner, could we talk to Walpole about MAPC? We might have the opportunity to pursue grant funding to get someone in here to understudy with the Walpole person.
Yep.
So reduce our,
and Walpole's very amenable to, intermunicipal agreements or whatever, if we want to buy a little bit of somebody's time just to come give us some scope of services or something. And that, in the planning expense budget, they actually, we've reduced that a little bit over the last few years, but there's still, based on their history, there's still some room, I'm talking about $5,000 or $10,000 there for, that they've got preparing for another building boom.
Right. Okay. Snow and ice.
Snow and ice, I think I gave you.
Still 25,000 in there, we should,
Oh, I gave you, yeah.
That has to come.
I'm on
Don't
the
you
budget.
even dare.
Let's stick this, I would say keep it in there. I'd rather,
okay.
you convinced me? How's that? Right now, we're
I'm gonna
300,
start keeping score.
How many times I flipped?
Yeah.
Hey, a foolish consistency is the hobgoblin of a little mind, right?
It's a principled.
John Kerry
It's a
quote?
principled argument. I always respect principled arguments.
Now,
Then we get into the real world.
right. Couldn't you take the on the facilities budgets? Those numbers for FY13 are budgeted, they're not actuals, right?
correct.
And there's some hefty jumps in there in the budgeted, like police fire. Had a decent jump over FY12, which are actuals.
Yep.
I think you still got, I know you did a lot of trimming there.
Yeah, if you go back to 10, 9, and 8, there's still a lot of, those have swung down for the past. But, yeah, there's still some,
Maybe there's still a little room there to grab.
yeah, you better get a new police fire station at some point, although.
We have to. I've got to call George, and we've got to get a meeting back together.
Yeah, but this money doesn't help that.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
Doesn't.
But, we've been, literally, we're down to the point where we're cleaning the station twice a week rather than 3 times a week, and, when you have
Understood.
prisoners in there and, officers like those guys, is to be a 24/7. It's a,
But the rec will be online in this fiscal year, right, in FY14?
it should be.
Should
Probably July 2014, so, yeah.
Oh, so in FY15.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Did you take the 150 out, did you add 150 out of stabilization in this draft
Did.
form?
Yeah.
You did, already.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's too bad.
Take 250 out, I can make it work.
No.
I think we're getting high
Well-
at 150.
If the schools would work with us, hypothetically, and you took 15 out of snow and ice, it's 135. Still an increase. You can laugh later. I would take 15, not 10, out of the fire. Because I honestly, when you take the summer months, I think that's actually a pretty legit number. You're down to 222.
Does that include the elementary school contribution?
So if we're down to, I mean, give us some time, we can find 200 grand.
Are we posted for tomorrow night?
You are. Right?
No,
Advisory board?
No, there's been no email for that.
Oh, I thought
He
they were-
posted for the moderator thing, but he didn't post for, there's nothing posted for tomorrow.
Sorry, my mistake.
You're not posted?
No, for tomorrow night.
Oh.
I don't know if they know you're coming in, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it was on my calendar. I thought we were going in tomorrow night.
Yeah, no, it's, and that's the last opportunity for them, really, to hit before the published warrant, so. I talked to Pat Sneed last week, he knew we were coming in.
Yeah. Okay, well, it is what it is.
Is that a fall from last time I was here at 7:30 and we were on 8:15? I left.
You were posted 2 weeks, or was it a week too early?
Yeah. Something, right?
Are there
We'll
any,
be at another posted meeting, so, really.
You just can't deliberate, that's all.
Yeah.
oh, you can come. Yeah, we just can't, yeah. We just need to be,
We can't debate, we can argue.
another executive order?
There you go.
You probably, Jack, you've probably got a little bit in your insurance, your benefits. I mean, you've hedged it a
Took a
little.
lot out.
Well, I'm talking about the 10%.
Yeah, and I've lowered that to 5.5%.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Did I miss that?
Oh, Jack, this still has the HR, the high
Yeah.
HR number.
They're posted for tomorrow night. Yeah. You guys are posted for tomorrow night.
Okay.
I think Sue posted them after the last advisory board meeting.
Sorry. Oh, maybe I didn't get, oh, maybe I'm not.
Jack? This still has the high HR number.
Right. Yeah, that was.
So there's 40,
Yeah.
well, 20, 30?
I think 10, because we already took out 10.
85? So 75 is the HR number?
No, maybe 15. I mean, if you get them down, if you go back to 30 hours, he's at an $80,000 a year position.
Okay.
If it was 40 hours.
Okay, honestly, I thought it was a 20-hour for some reason. Is IT an affordable luxury?
Oh, dear Lord.
The answer is, we cannot afford not to have that luxury. Did you notice
Wow.
Jack just had a small
Boy,
heart
he just
attack?
turned red.
Jesus.
Tell Ian.
I've had a lot of problems with technology, and if we scale that back.
I know a number of times I've called and ended up at the police station. The phones aren't working.
The phones go out regularly here, and then everybody ends up bouncing to the public safety, because that's our, that does not make the public safety people very happy. but
Yeah, I was going to say, they're a little sick and tired of it.
Increases our 911 volume.
I have police officer. Police officer.
That's already out, isn't it?
I think it's in there for 3 months now, so it's.
Yeah, he's still in there. I know.
We could take it out. At some point,
I know.
we've been
I
wanting
know,
to add
Jim.
that for,
I know.
ever since I've been here. And
I know. Well, part of it is getting to the fall town meeting. We'll have our free cash certified. We will have clarity on the state aid. Were you able to come up with an up or down side to that?
No,
I didn't think you could.
you're talking about the minimum local contribution. If it,
Yeah.
I don't know what the legislature's, I don't think the legislature knows what they're going to do yet. Governor's proposal.
They're raising your taxes. We know that.
I know that. But if I could rant for 1 minute, the more and more I learn about the new roll-ins of Obamacare over the next 2 years, I'm concerned
Terrified's a better word.
for, all the little things that we have to start, we as employers, and so this is not just a municipality issue, it's that we're all going to have to pick up.
Well, taking politics off, because this is not a political
No, it's
issue.
not.
This has, anyone doesn't understand, this is going to cost us a whole lot more money. They haven't done their homework on this. This is going to cost us a lot more money. I'm not judging whether that's good or bad. But, and Duval's plan on survivor benefits,
Yeah, that didn't
surviving
help either.
spouses, if that goes into effect,
There's another, what, 15 to
oh,
35?
it's like 20, isn't it? 20, 26, in that range?
22, I think, was the number Julie had.
Well, are we agreed on King Philip?
Yes.
Or does anyone have any other ideas, thoughts, or Plan B?
Well,
So plan, well.
Scott's troubled.
No, I know we need the help. I mean, I just troubled for years, but I trust in what Jim says. We'll let Jim get inside the books.
Well,
I say this
I don't, I mean, they gotta let me inside the books. I mean, it just, it's not my right. But it is a risk. I mean, we could be right back at this same scenario next year. If changes don't take place, we'll be back here next year with the same scenario.
That would just be
And
mag-
those
added
cuts,
on, right?
those cuts will be back up on the board, and there won't be a solution.
Yeah, we have a situation with their budget, and as you said, it's created, and now we need to fix it as a team. So let's fix it.
Now, the bullet isn't as bad proportionately as if this came out of free cash. I mean, if this were an A&D contribution, it has a more dramatic impact to the rolling year budget than when you spread this over 3 towns. Incrementally, the percentage on 3 towns, the risk is less
Yeah.
than if they were throwing the 750 of A&D money in there.
They're
So
not putting any money. I know that. I thought
They don't
they're
have
down,
any.
I thought they're down like 300 or 400. They're not using any. They're keeping it some of that. I thought they had some.
I think they do have 420
I think you
or
said
something like
4.
that. But I don't want them to use it.
No, I agree.
Yeah, I
That's what
don't
I mean.
either.
It just gets
I don't want
deeper
them to
too.
use it.
That's what I'm saying. It just puts us in deeper.
And to be fair, we keep, and I'm probably the worst at saying this, they used the 750 last year. I think that was they were encouraged to use it by different finance committees and others too.
I think you're right.
So it's not, this is a group problem.
But again, proportionately.
Oh, yeah.
This is a better solution than throwing it out of A&D.
Absolutely. As you said, that
Because they
pain
do.
gets shared.
Right. The pain is shared.
And to be fair, Scott, the 150,
Again, I'm just thinking, again, because I don't like to just not think it's going to, if it's going to go away, it'd be great if we could.
yeah, the 150 we're pulling out of, if we pulled out of stabilization, really was free cash anyway that we
Right, we
had-
put it in there, right.
we put in there, and we would have, had we not put it aside, it would end up in this budget
It was somewhere in the budget, you're right, so that I don't have a problem. I just, again, not this year, it's just, where's the 150, if they don't, like Jim said, I have that faith that they'll fix it, because I think they recognize the
Well,
problem.
thank you for
Yeah.
the faith, but I bet, you know,
Again, no, it's not,
you
you
have more
know,
faith than I do.
it's on you, but I have to have faith, otherwise I feel, I'm sorry, Jim.
Thanks a lot.
I have to have faith. One, you have all the kids in town, in all 3 towns, you can't have a school that doesn't have
No, you can't.
co-curricular.
We're a
and-
K through 12 system.
I mean, when you apply to colleges, it says, they don't just take a kid that's got straight A's, because that doesn't show well-roundedness. So I don't know what
Yeah.
our children are going to do. What would they do? Yeah, my daughter or son's got straight A's. Okay, what else? What are the outside activities? Oh, school doesn't offer any. Which is great academics, but I don't want to see them cut teachers either.
And not to sound too goofy, but they've started to have success now in some of these programs that they never had. I mean, they've had success for 25 years, but they're having success in football. They're having success in the soccer team is
softball team is state champ.
Basketball
I'll have you
teams.
know that the hockey team made the tournament.
the hockey team, and that filters through the school.
Keeps kids
Success
coming here, too.
begets
Well, and it
success.
keeps kids coming to school, right?
Yeah. So
Can you imagine terminating that band program?
Or just anything. I just think any of the co-curricular. I mean, again,
I
that's
can't,
a bigger one.
I can't fathom that.
Any of them, though. Drama, they have kids that do it. Any KP Cares, they have a lot of clubs that.
I
think that means all the clubs might not get funded either. I'm not sure if I'm right on that.
I don't
But
think
You know,
So
the band
clubs are
program
again
is what
sort of
everybody
that-
talks
that's
about, so
leadership.
it's an easy one to focus on. But you're right, all of the other programs
how
are
do you-
equally important to students.
I mean, how do you tell your kid to be a leader if there's no clubs?
I left that meeting sort of with a moral dilemma. I mean, you know, I don't like the mess they're in. I don't like the way they got there. I don't like what they're trying to do about it. All of that said, it doesn't matter. They are where they are. And I just kept looking at this, and we talked several times today about this, and we have to try to do something. And we're first out of the gate.
Yeah, the sad part about yesterday's meeting with the town administrators and some of the KP school committee was, we ended the meeting with, well, if anybody comes up with a good idea, give us a call, because nobody had nobody, there weren't any good ideas.
No, other than giving more money right now, it's a money problem, right? I mean, it's not, and there's a lot of, probably, as Jim said, structural problems beyond
Well,
that, but right now it takes money.
you're right. I mean,
Right?
you know,
Right now.
all of the emotions about how they got there and why, irrelevant.
Today, right now, yeah.
They're
This is
totally irrelevant.
this is what it is.
I mean,
Pure cash problem right now.
Now, I would hope with it, though, comes, as they say, that chit that says we get to work collectively to try and find some better solutions to this, because this,
Just can't keep doing it.
we're in negotiations on the contract. You know, I know they've been tough and not very friendly over time, but at some point, you've got to get into a partnership here and understand that you can't sustain these kinds of automatic increases at 4% per year.
Yeah.
You just can't sustain it.
You know, but this is, these types, I know you've seen this information, Jim, the graph that I got up there showing the expenses per school district. You know, they're not spending a lot.
Well, they're not getting a lot to spend. I mean, we don't get,
They're
like,
not, they're not getting a lot.
They're one of the lowest funded regional systems in the state.
it's just weird giving out 3 towns.
And if you look, and this is an ongoing debate, Jack made a great comment today, he said, this is where you wish you had one superintendent for K through 12, because you get 2 superintendents both arguing the logic of their, defending their argument in terms of per capita expenditure, which is a number I don't put much weight in one way or the other anyway, because it's a distorted number. I mean, you have a 50 classroom size, you lose 50 kids in 1 year, and your budget goes up 3%, all of a sudden you're spending a whole lot more money I mean, it's just a bad number to measure your system by. But it is a measurement that people use. King Philip, the elementary systems are higher than King Philip.
Right.
Not
And
just Norfolk's, Rentham's as
I
well.
think all 3,
Yeah.
probably in Plainville.
So, and we're more proprietary about our elementary systems than we are through K-12, the King Philip system. I mean, it's unfortunate, but we are, as a community. That's probably true of all 3 communities, would be my guess. Which is unfortunate,
It is. It is.
because it is a K through 12 system. And the majority of our kids go there.
We don't stop educating our kids at 6th
All
grade.
my kids went there. And did well,
All mine went there.
and did well.
Trying to get through. Let's get one more year.
We're all KP veterans, in one way or another. Some more legitimate than others. You
Yeah,
actually,
that's right.
you're a KP grad, aren't you?
I am a KP
Yeah.
grad.
Don't hold that against us.
That's why I can't do budgets, it's the math thing. One of my math teachers is now a history teacher. I think she gave up after she had me.
Couldn't fix it, yeah. Can't teach your kid.
But you can hum a great song.
All right, so what do you think? Are we in favor of this?
I think, yes. I am, with a lot of caveats.
Well, let's list those caveats. Shoot.
There's going to have to be some more cooperation on finding ways to cut their budget. They're on double secret probation on that. And I know the joint services thing gets thrown around, but let's get serious about it.
What else?
It goes back if we're out there hanging 10 on our own.
Which is possible. I mean, this may be
All for nothing.
all for nothing. We can only hope. But if we don't do it, it won't happen.
Yeah, someone has to
That's the
lead.
bottom line.
Yeah.
I mean, we're really the only hope to start this thing going.
And I think we have to show some leadership in the district. I think we have to, I do think we have to get to the other towns and show how serious we are about this.
You want to write a memo to the other Board of Selectmen?
I'd be willing to see if I could get invited to their meetings. Go talk to them. I'd be glad to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Jim's willing to be the punching bag. That's
We
good.
can
They're
do it
gonna-
after April 30th. Well, whoever, I mean, we can divide and conquer. There's three of us, we can each take it, whatever. It'd be tough to have three take two
each
towns,
take
but
two
anyway.
things.
Half of you can come with me, half
There
of
you
you
go.
can go with,
I think I'm actually a taxpayer in Plainville.
There you go.
Conflict of interest.
There you go.
we need to sit down with our school system. I say our, that's the wrong way to say it. We need to sit down with the elementary system and see if they'll partner with us on this. So we've got some wild cards still out there. Are they meeting tonight?
Yeah.
I would think they've got a lot of heavy-duty stuff on their plate as well.
Well, the superintendent's not there tonight. She's homesick.
Well, I mean, but at town meeting, they're going to be coming up for $300,000 on a playground.
Right.
Which isn't, even though it's CPA money, I don't know that's going to be an easy sell
I don't think it will be an easy sell.
for folks, so
Okay.
I think we have to rally around our schools,
Mhm.
and our schools rally around each other.
Okay. Where are they meeting? Over in the school?
I don't know.
Freeman. You gonna try to,
Thanks, Donna.
Well, I can't go over and talk to them about it because I'm not on the agenda, so can't do that.
if they're on TV, we could put it on.
Do it through cable?
They're not live, apparently.
Donna, shake her head.
Donna's shaking her head saying you folks are a little crazy.
Yeah, that'll pipe us in.
Okay,
Put them on,
so
put us on.
for the advisory board tomorrow night, are we agreed that we're going to present this way?
I am in favor.
I'm in favor.
Yes?
Yep.
Okay. Let's
Like
hope,
a student.
let's hope we can get a partner.
No, I'm not. I'm processing all that. I've heard a lot of numbers thrown out. I think I got them all down. Cutting favorite projects of your own. That's all.
Let it be shown, I offered up my snow and ice money, so.
Your road will still.
You
get
are a
plowed.
gracious man. So you cutting the planner in its entirety?
Cut the planner. We cut to the fire department. Cut to the elementary school.
Can we agree
Police.
in the fall town meeting that if our resources appear to be headed in excess of what we anticipated, that we can put that back?
Yeah, after a charter review.
Nice.
Planner is not part of the charter review.
Sure it is.
No, it
It's
isn't.
form of government, yeah.
No, it isn't. absolutely not.
Depends on what you want the planner to do. If you want a really effective planner
Don't
that has
start,
good control.
don't start.
It's too late for that garbage.
Yeah.
Let's try. I already got that idea.
We'll bring that up for fall. It'll be a fall article.
Okay.
Chairman's prerogative.
I think I've overthought this start.
Buckle up. Yeah, no, I think we're okay. Jack will come up with numbers tomorrow. Jack, can you send us some progress in the late afternoon so we know what we're presenting in front of the advisory board?
Sure.
What time are we on? 7:30?
Their meeting's at 7:30.
Do they have
Are we first? Are we
Last
at?
time we weren't.
Well, you and I thought we were. Yeah, we both
Rob
showed up at
did you show up?
7:30. Rob's the only one that knew the actual time.
Sue Jacobson was our thing. She looked at me and goes, "You should know that."
You're the only one that knew the actual
I
time.
know the school was there, and I said, we're not going to be
I
anytime
know.
early.
That's why I went by that. That's no one told me that. Jim's
It actually
like,
was good because I got to hear the schools.
They almost did.
Yeah, so, but it was by accident. What was that?
Their agenda is to review warrant articles.
It's a nice catch-all.
They were gonna cancel.
Of course, the budget is a-
meeting, So I'm not sure they know you're coming in.
All right, I'll call Pat tonight.
Let us know.
The budget is a warrant article, so.
And when
It is.
Pat and I spoke, this is, ex parte, third person, we were still talking about the possibility that we may end up with a later budget than April or May. We may end up with,
Yeah.
so he may have been operating under that assumption.
I'll call, if we should be out of here early enough. I'll give Pat a call tonight, and I'll have Jack let you know whether we even need to come tomorrow night.
Okay.
I mean, if,
Good about showing up on the not needed.
um,
It's good. That was early.
I mean, I might come just to, if we're not really gonna do any detail, I might come just to talk to him about KP. Could do that.
There's not much on, so there's plenty of.
Yeah.
Did you s-
people to come in.
Oh, never mind. Gonna make fun of you, but I won't. Yet.
Nice guy.
Okay. All right, we're in agreement. So I'll let you guys know. If you would like, I have a lot of other data. Jack, I think you have it too. Did you see any of this, Rob?
No.
Okay. Maybe we could make a copy.
Oh, it's in your book, under the.
Oh, it is in there?
under the King
Okay.
Philip tab.
Okay, because they gave us a lot of other data in addition to what
Okay, there we go.
you've seen.
Yeah, yeah. I gotta correct the thing I said earlier. I thought you were posted for tomorrow night. You are not. I was looking at tonight's.
Okay.
Tonight is still listed as a future, so.
So what did you have to say to Mary?
They may
about that?
not be expecting us.
I gave Mary credit for I apologize, Marion, I was wrong.
Marion, I have a feeling you're right. I don't think they're expecting us. I'll check with
No,
that.
but I don't think they'll mind if they come, because
It's my book.
they don't have much on tomorrow night.
Yeah, but nobody wants an extra night if we don't need it.
I think they thought
Yeah.
they weren't gonna be done with the budget.
Well, we're really not.
Why they, well, that's why
We're not.
I think that's why they didn't put you on. They didn't think you were gonna be ready to.
And we're up against their publishing deadline, because
Yeah.
town meeting's early this year.
All right, then why don't, I'll just talk to Pat. Why don't we not plan on not coming tomorrow
Okay.
night?
Got it.
Okay?
Done.
I'll talk to, it sounds like there's absolutely no need.
Yeah, so they'll say a budget will be presented at town meeting
Yep.
in the
Which
mailer
which we've done before. Yeah.
many
Put it
times.
we'll put it on the website.
Okay, I'll call Pat.
Do-
So
do you-
we'll be off tomorrow night then.
I mean, we still have, what's today? April 9th?
9th.
Town meeting is May 7th. I mean, so we still have another meeting to talk about this, but I don't know, I go back and forth. I still think there's an opportunity for us to, like we did before, delay the financial discussions until the end of May. So we're still ahead of the other two towns. So,
Well, if we're going to do it,
Something-
it has to be the end of May. Okay, you get into June, you're going to miss Plainville.
oh, I agree, yeah. May 28th would be the Tuesday,
And
last
if
Tuesday
we're
of
going
the
to pull
month.
the only reason I hesitate with that is that if we do, there's a difference between having a day
Yeah.
versus having 3 weeks for King Philip to try and make their case to the neighboring towns. If we wait till the end of May, you're giving them 5 days from our commitment to the Plainville meeting. Now, I mean, they could do it in advance, but, until somebody takes a vote, there's no nothing, so to speak. That's the only. And my question is, what's going to change, other than we might get, we're not going to know state numbers on May 28th anyway.
Probably not.
What's going to change?
You just need more time, yeah.
And we'll just have to, whatever comes from the state, we'll just have to fix it in the fall.
Better, I think it's
I mean, it's
important, better
becoming
give more
business as
notice.
usual with this mess.
Yeah.
For, to help.
I mean, the fall town meeting, Jack,
The lottery, I don't
for the last 5 years has been a cleanup.
Yeah, and
mean,
that's why I'm torn. I don't,
I mean, there's nothing you can do about it.
Geez, maybe we should put it back in the bylaw, huh?
what's that?
Fall town
Fall
meeting.
town meeting.
Another one of those brilliant ideas, huh?
Yeah, God, boy, whoever that group was, they were filled with stuff, weren't they?
I don't know who was on that group. Mr. Garrity.
We need to go back to having zoning articles in the fall and stop doing them in the
Oh, I
spring,
agree with
though.
that. I completely agree with that.
I like the flexibility of not having a specific fall town meeting date, though, because.
Oh, I do too.
Because if something comes up, like 61A sale,
Or anything.
we can call a town meeting and the
Stop
airport.
smiling. Okay. Well, how do you feel about going forward with the budget? I know we can change our mind, but what's your first gut feeling on doing it beginning or end of May?
I'm for sooner rather than later. Nothing else is really going to change. Give people more time.
I am too.
I know Jack's going to be chased down, so he just wants to be able to hide longer. But it's on public now, anyways, Jack.
I don't
so-
know that we can I don't think I mean, we can play with it more. But you won't, well, it's the truth. I mean, you can play with it more, but you won't be able to, you won't have a single piece of data, meaningful data that changes between the beginning and the end of May. Will you?
No, I was hoping for some help in our health insurance, but I mentioned to you, we got some other quotes in, and there were some, at first they looked like 8% savings, but there were a lot of underlying,
Apples to apples.
yeah, there were a lot of oranges in there, so. So, you know, you're right. Now,
I mean, if it's not going to change, I think we're giving KP a better shot by giving them more time.
Right.
And I think the community will support this recommendation if we can put it all together. I hope they will. Okay. Jack, other business?
no, I gotta work on it. Yes, the snow and ice deficit I gave to you.
I have
There's a whole bunch of sheets underneath showing you snow and ice by storm total. Well, I guess the first page shows you each of the storms, how much snow there was
And then previous years.
in previous years. So last year was a great year. This year was a not so good year. 2 years ago was a horrible year.
Well, we're already over the inches of 2 years ago. Just
Yeah.
these storms without, that's 92 and a half.
Yeah, if we could have stopped winter at the end of January, we would have been fine this year.
Yep.
Can we pass a bylaw?
So we have about a probably $50,000 deficit, which we should be able to cover with some transfers and with some free cash.
You know, it's interesting, there's an embedded cost to a snowstorm, whether it's 1 inch or 30 inches.
Right.
There's an embedded fixed cost.
Yep.
And, you know, it's not proportional. So, every time they gotta go out, you've got a 40 or 45% fixed cost, roughly.
And there's a lot of, to that point, there's a lot of fixed expenses, whether it's just maintaining the plows and,
Yeah.
just because of the wear and tear on them. And plows are older than I am, so they're a lot of wear and tear on them.
Yeah, that was a softball, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I know.
it's too late.
Okay.
I think
Other items,
that's,
Jack?
That's all I got. I got acceptance of minutes, I think, at this.
Okay, that's right. I move to accept the minutes, both executive and regular, of March
ahead.
12, 2013.
I'll second. Further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is the aye? Is an aye on the way out?
all
He
present.
abstained,
Abstained.
he's not here.
Motion carries.
Motion carried. Anything else, Jack? All right, I'll call Pat tonight. Scott, any business?
No new business?
Let's wait for Mr. Garrity to come back.
Oh, you did one.
How'd your tennis team do today?
Emily won. The girls won. They played Hopedale. So they won, they played 5 matches, so they were 3-2. So they
Good.
it was a non-league match.
Good for
It's neat.
them.
Hopedale's neat. They only have 3 courts, so they only played an 8-game set, like one set, as opposed to just 2 out of 3 sets. But they had a match on, what's today, Tuesday, so they played Monday, Tuesday, and they play tomorrow, which could all be gone.
How did our other favorite DECA student do?
Who are the favorite DECA student?
Rachel?
Rachel, she won. Yeah, she won her. Oh, that's right, from DECA. That's right, you guys remember that. And she's going to nationals too, right? Did I tell you that both?
Both,
Oh,
both,
they're both,
both
yeah.
Palumbo, I believe, is
Yeah.
also going to nationals.
Yeah, Rachel's going and Emily's going. So
great.
they came into the
So,
selectmen. Yeah,
that's
that-
terrific.
Now I don't know if that program would be cut too, because that builds future business leaders too.
We're gonna salvage
Yeah.
this. We're gonna work it through.
So that was good. And then you asked too, Jim, about an update from the truck exclusion. Bob got an email back from Kohler and Colantonio on March 21st. It was a copy of an email from the state saying they've got it now assigned to the field, and they get back to us with an answer.
Okay.
But that means Bob was a little nervous because he's like, we don't want any help from them. We don't want any opinions. We just want them to rubber stamp it, right? And I think, and the
It sounds
consultant
more
said
like
that's what's going to
it sounds
happen.
more like protocol.
Yeah, it sounds like a protocol, but so it's been assigned.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
Bob was getting a little frustrated with that, and I think Tony and I both gave him the same message. It's like, let the state do their thing.
They've got to prove
Well,
their
he's so
value.
excited because he figures we all, the towns approved it, Rentham approved it for the first time ever. Just the state just
Yeah.
let us have it, right? But-
We'll get it. We'll be okay.
So that's good.
They go in mysterious ways.
Yeah, Bob comes from that. He's got that Attleboro and Newton mentality too, where the cities get away a little. I think they get away with a little more.
They kind of put the signs up where they want, right? Well, I'd ask. Yeah.
Rob, any
I guess check if you don't ask.
highlights for the week?
It's easy to ask for forgiveness, right?
No,
New business?
none,
Old business?
not really.
Really.
Am I missing something? Should I have something?
No, not that I know of. Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much for joining us. Please remember to vote April 30th. We do have another meeting on April 23rd, I believe.
Wednesday.
Yes,
Oh, 24th. 23rd is
right?
candidates night.
Oh.
So we're meeting on Wednesday, the 24th. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Thanks for enduring the conversation on King Philip, and we hope for your support. Thank you. Good night.